Good evening and welcome to Northwest today, where we get to give you the details of what has happened today in the Northwest Province. Today we are joined, we are in Mafikeng and we are broadcasting live from the Northwest Legislature, and we are joined by BITSA LENKOPANE as well as ARON MOTSWANA, who are going to tell us a bit more about what happened today. BITSA, good evening and welcome to our show. Maybe can you tell us about the hotel security services? What are the outcomes? What was happening in fact today?
Like the statement that I have issued is not actually today, but the existence of the oversight committee is actually to see to it that what the department, like our portfolio, it's playing oversight over two departments: the department that is headed by MEC Mohono and the department that is headed by MEC Kinecho Mosenogi. So MEC Kinecho Mosenogi is heading the Department of Economic Development, Conservation and Tourism, as well as the Parks Board, the Tourism Board, which includes the hotel schools, as well as the Gambling Board and the NWDC. So what I was briefing you on Twitter too, as well as the visits that we have paid to the sites, because our main interest is whether the money that we approve in the form of budget is given value when they are to render services to our people. So we have engaged the department through the entity, and we picked up that all is not well when you go to Taung. I will directly say there is contravention of the regulations of Treasury in terms of how the whole process of supply chain was followed to get to a point of the fencing as well as the gate. One might motivate how beautiful it is, but the fact of the matter, the Taung Hotel School, it was bought for 5 million. And when you get into the conditions of the hotel, a lot is still needed, including your equipment. The department, through the tourism board, have presented before the committee that they did not perform on the program of the equipment supply to the school. Now, you fail to supply the equipment to the school, and yet you build a gate of 7.8 million. So to us, it doesn't address the needs of the public, and they could not value the money they have spent, and we have a problem. And besides even the money being spent, also the process that was followed to spend that money. We have done inquiry, we have conducted research, we have collected the relevant documentations, we have entered even up to the level of official treasury. We have noted with disappointment that the department has variated up to a level of 123%, and the permissible variation should be 20% in construction, which then gives a difference. You subtract 20% from 123. It's like it was intentional. That's the recklessness that we have discovered as the portfolio, and that is why we want the ears and the eyes of public to understand that as Parliament we can't keep quiet, and that is why we are saying there has to be consequence management. And consequence management in this case is in so many ways. It could be us. When I was tabling this for the House, I was making it very clear that we are also, on behalf of the committee, we are also going to cooperate with the law enforcement agencies, thus that those that have spent and those that have directly or indirectly benefited what is not due to them and is due to our public, they must get the consequences. And the officials also who are involved, we are still going to check as to whether the executing authority, who is accountable to us, has conducted that consequence management, and in the absence of such, we will bring it back to us and deal with such a matter.
So in a sense, what you're saying is that the bull gate is not worth the money, and in what you're saying, Corey, the hotel itself is not, the rooms are not in a bad condition. How bad is a bad condition?
We must correct it, because in the specification it is a gate. Normally people will start to argue and say if you were not calling it a boom gate, it could have costed that. But the fact of the matter here, whether you call it a gate, a boom gate, or what, but the amount that has been spent there, we and the processes that were followed is actually to us as the portfolio a worrying factor that we need to fight. And when you look at the conditions, yesterday we had an unannounced visit to my hotel school. A room which is costing 1.8 when one is to sleep over. It's so dilapidated that it is not even used. And we went into the kitchen of the hotel. They are still using very old equipment. And even the second quarter report is showing that they did not perform. And when they give reasons, they are saying they could not perform because of a large amount of money that goes to security. We are not the ones who has detected that. They are telling us that we are spending more, because when you come to security, initially the tourism, the hotels were paying 33,000 a month. When you sum it up, it takes you to 300 and something thousand annually. But now, all of a sudden, just like the same process of the gate, you got the security that costed 153,000, a difference of about 120,000, which then took the whole contract of a 3-year period to 5.8 instead of 1.8. So we are saying, as the committee, that money could have been used to buy equipment. That money could have used to get the maintenance and the renovation of the hotel. So we would not say yes, all is well. And that is why we stand up and we say they will then have to account. Whoever was involved will then have to account. And we are not going to keep quiet if we see elements of criminality. That is why we are going to cooperate with the National Treasury on its anti-corruption unit, as well as the Hawks, to let them do their work so that those that are responsible must account.
Are the rooms in any dilapidated forms, or how bad? Because I just want to get the sense of how bad the situation is.
When you go to, what room number is that? 134. Room number 134 here, I don't even have to refer you to Taung. Here in Mahiteng Hotel School, you go to room 134. It's so dilapidated. You look at it, it has got beds, it has got everything, but just a mere ceiling, which could have costed even less than 20,000, could not be fixed. But we are able to go up to a level of 5 million to pay for security. When you compare that security of 5 million and 1.8, 33,000 and 153, the conditions are exactly the same. You don't even have a reason for variation. Just like the gate. You don't have a reason to put the gate that will bring security there, and you save that for 4 million, you get into your rooms, you get better resources. Because when we were there at the site, at Taung, we even had students who marched to the portfolio because of the conditions they are staying at. They raised a lot of issues in relation to their equipment. They raised a lot of issues in terms of how they are not inspired and their morale is very low, including the staff, because it appears they are ignored and services are not rendered. And we are saying, as a committee, we can't keep quiet.
You are still tuned in onto New Inferno Television. We'll be back after the break, and we are going to bring ARON MOTSWANA into the conversation to talk more about this dilapidation of the hotel. We want to find out from him how what action, as May saying that action should be taken against those people. We want to know what kind of action is going to be taking place. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to New Infinity TV. You are still tuned in into Northwest today. As we said before the break, that we are going to bring ARON MOTSWANA, who is the member of the portfolio committee. ARON, as we said before the break, we are going to bring you into the conversation. When people that are involved in this are going to be held accountable, how are you planning to hold them accountable?
Well, the process for now, as Honorable LENKOPANE has indicated yesterday, began by conducting an unannounced visit at Mabato Hotel School. We are collecting samples of documents for purposes of analyzing those particular documents. Certain documents will then be referred to our research team for them to research more information and so on. But that does not preclude us from approaching the law enforcement where we feel as a committee that there's balance of probabilities that money is just being spent the wrong way. More so that the school is not serving its intended purposes. That particular school is supposed to produce youth that would be trained in such a way that they get ready to face the employment world outside today. Now, what you are doing, well, actually, the department is misleading the entire public outside today, that we are recruiting people with the aim of creating opportunities for them. And what is painful here, we are talking of youth. It's not just ordinary people that we are talking about. And if you can then go to conduct a site visit at Mabato Hotels, we would not believe it. We are told that some of the equipments there are as much as old as 27 years, some of them 40, 30 years. The resident where they are supposed to be staying is not suitable, leading to the very same youth who are equally unemployed and just fresh from the school, having to go and look for accommodation elsewhere as an alternative. So, in the event that we are not going to find audible explanation from the documents that we have received up to so far, and further documents that we are still going to receive, we are empowered in terms of powers and privileges and immunities of Parliament to can approach the law enforcement, open up cases, refer these particular cases to the law enforcement, whether it's SAPS, whether it's a HOC, whether it's a ISIU, and so on and so on, for them to continue with the investigation and to investigate these particular cases better and then report back to Parliament. Such matters then, after investigation and where there's possible arrest, where there's possibility of recovering the funds that were used, but at the same time to be able to expose this particular shoddy business people and characters of individuals within government itself that are doing this particular thing, ripping off government of its monies, ensuring that the department, which intends to assist our own youth, is not going to, at the end of the day, be able to achieve on its mandate of trying to create employment opportunities and confer skills, necessary skills, to our youth. So, indeed, we are monitoring the situation. We are awaiting documents. We will be engaging with the powers that be, with any necessary information that we think would be of assistance to the issue at hand, because we are disappointed as a committee. A room that was supposed to be bringing in on a daily rate of about 1,800 can't then be utilized because the ceiling is falling, the roof is not okay, it needs to be replaced, and so on and so on. And the hotel has managed to get a quotation for 47,000. You leave 47,000, you go and procure security for an amount of 5.5 million, like the chair has said. But what is then key about the procurement of this particular security is that it was procured in the presence of another security on site. It's not like there was no security. The worst case is that this security that was there was way much cheaper. So what is this interest of removing someone who's charging you 33,000 and replacing him or her with a person that is going to be charging you 153,000. It's mind-boggling, and so on and so on. And there are certain things that we would not expose now for the purpose of the investigation that is ongoing. But it is adequate for us to indicate to the public that we find these particular things bizarre, actions and the reports that have been given, because the parents around Mafikeng and elsewhere, to say, has actually taken their pensions, brought these particular kids for them to be trained so as to prepare them for employment. And this is not happening simply because money is used somewhere else. And in this particular case, we have misled the public, we have raised people's hopes. The communities outside there in the province are of the impressions that people are being prepared, people are getting ready and so on, which is not happening. Other people are even dropping out as time goes by because of the kind of conditions that exist there. So we'll use all the avenues that are there in terms of your law enforcement to get to the root of this particular issue.
Thank you. If we can just swiftly move forward to the Northwest Development Corporation Board Studios. What is happening there?
We're tracing information because it is coming in pieces. This matter is being handled by the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture. We believe that that particular pop studio was not supposed to be sold in the first place. Whatever that has happened, we're following up on that particular information. Pieces of information that we have received this far is that the studio has been dismantled. We are not even sure who was it sold to, whether it was done properly or so. But we believe that this is supposed to be a heritage for the Northwest. You've got artists, very established, Casper Nobias and so on, who are coming from the Northwest. And you still having them now being accommodated in KwaZulu-Natal, accommodated in Gauteng and so on. You've got your Mabana here in Mabatu, you've got your Mabana in Tau and so on. You've got all this talent that is coming from the Northwest, whether it's traditional and so on and so on, that government could have then channeled its resources in renovating and rehabilitating this particular studio and utilize it for the benefit of our youth people here. And to hear from the newspapers and the media platforms that the studio has been sold, it's what then surprises us as government that the responsible department did not inform us. But when we went now to spot, we are told that it was handled by NWTC. NWTC now is saying this particular studio belonged to a private person. The private person got funding from elsewhere. So we're still tracing the information. But we have made our feelings known as the Portfolio Committee that we don't want that particular studio to leave the Northwest, and where possible, we then use the necessary means of the law to try to return it back to the province.
So are we saying, sorry, the studios were in a bad condition? What condition were the studios in before they were sold?
What we know now is that the studios has not been utilized for many, many years. We can't even account because the information is not adequately being processed. What we know is that it was still intact, but it has not been utilized for many years. You don't know whether there was vandalism, you don't know whether there was theft of some items and so on and so on. But whatever that it is, it's a heritage for this particular province. There's no way such a valuable asset can be left to leave the province. Not in any other case. Even provincially here, you can't take it to Gauteng, you can't take it to KwaZulu-Natal or anywhere in the country. If then we are serious about having to confront the challenges of poverty and unemployment, we then have to try to utilize whatever resources at our disposal to try to advance the interests of our public in the Northwest. That's what we stand for.
We quickly need to take a break now, but just after the break, MOTSWANA, I would like to find out from you, because you are saying the studio had not been used for many, many years. You can't even recall how long it's not been used. We just want to find out after the break, why was the studio not being utilized? Let's take a quick break and we'll be back just after this. Welcome back. We are still tuned in with me, Nyakalo Musala, more New Inferno Television, where we are bringing you Northwest news today. MOTSWANA, before we went to the break, we spoke about the NWDC leader, Bob Studios, and I wanted to find out from you, Khore. You had said, Khore, the studios had not been utilized for many years. Do we have a reason why the studios were still there unused?
There's no specific reasons advanced by either the Department of Arts and Culture in the province or the NWDC in this regard. What we are just picking up is that there was a problem in terms of the transitional period and the arrangement that came of since the time of your BITSA. That immediately those assets were vested with what you called then at that particular time SABO, and in between in preserving this at that particular studio in the northwest or within the province, they somehow it was then sold, and this is a piece of information that were not yet conforming to a private person and so on and so on. As to now, the reasons why it was not exposed to the larger public and the usage, you've got churches, you've got gospel artists, you've got traditional artists and all of those. But one is just thinking that, but why were the reasons not to utilize the studio? Because instead what you could have done created a link between your Mabana Cultural Center and this particular studio to advance the talent in the Northwest. So it is not clear. Maybe in future it would be invested with the reasons emanating from documents that you are still facilitating, that will be able to furnish the public now with the correct information as to why the studio has not been utilized. For now, there's many allegations and rumors that they are coming for, but as, what we can confirm is that the people in the Northwest, not only in Mafeking, are very hurt by this particular decision, and they blame government. So that's why we are not going to sit and idle. If someone is not going to take action outside there, the best that we can do is then to search for the truth on behalf of the public or members of our beautiful province, and for them to know what is it that exactly happened and what had happened. But in the event that we feel that something is wrong, obviously we then have to come around and procure a decision through a committee that has been, an ad hoc committee that has been formulated to get to the level of now trying to protect the interests of our residents in the Northeast. But for now, we don't have information why it has not been utilized for such a long time.
So, can we move on to another item on the outcome, LENKOPANE, the South African Rare Game Breeders Association? Because earlier during the press briefing, we had said for a Rare Volmerans, who's the member of parliament now, had not benefited from this. Whereas we know he had benefited because of, and his allies had benefited because of his political connection. But earlier you had told us a different perspective. Which is which?
I don't know your which, but the wish that I have is the wish that is connected from the present situation, including the Parks Board that is existing in this province, and it is only the Parks Board that is existing. And I have indicated for the presentation that I made that Matthews Volmerans was one of the beneficiaries that had to partner with the SARBA. It was an EXCO resolution that then said the Parks Board must look into the game donation to the SARBA in the process of transforming the black people in the wildlife. Now the challenge was SARBA was supposed to do three things. They were supposed first to respond to By that time, the Parks Board was confronted with the court order of saying they are not treating their animals on TB and therefore they have to. So they then entered into a contract with SAHPA that they must do it. And the second one was that of the game donation. But they then had an agreement that they must first deal with the treatment of TB because most of the animals were tested positive. By that time, they have drawn a service level agreement. In that service level agreement that is existing, that is in the archives of Parks Board, that is existing in this Northwest. That service level agreement is having a list of beneficiaries under SAHPA, the black ones, and next to Volmarans it is even written resigned. They also have an existing directorship certificate after having a joint venture with SAHPA, of which Volmarans is not even part. This information is not coming from me. Because of the public interest, we had to call for a formal submission from the Parks Board in relation to the position and the benefits by Volmarans, because we believe that if such an individual has benefited, like you are saying, and you are saying he has benefited and together with his friends or whoever, then we could not unfortunately receive such the information, except the information that is in black and white, that he has resigned. Initially he was part of the proposal, but when they get into the joint venture agreements, it was then that a new certificate on the holding was formed, and he's not even a director there. But even if he could have been a director, the process of getting something to either SAHPA or the beneficiaries who are there, none of them has benefited. The project has not yet kick-started because of the challenge of the TB.
Okay, so are we saying, Jorge, had you not resigned before, had this challenge at TB, would he have benefited?
Obviously, if the criteria for selection of beneficiaries were favoring him, he could have benefited like any other South African citizen, like any other person who is also interested in benefiting. He could have benefited, unless if he could have contravened the conditions of the policy in terms of the game donation.
Do we know the criteria who benefit?
Yes, we were finished yesterday. We were also finished the Premier. The Premier has also adopted the position that we took as the committee, that the process of TB treatment must happen. The issue of the game donation will be something else, because the game donation is not only for SAHPA. Our people in the Northwest, especially our black people, they need also to start to be trained. That is why we are having this one of Farm Montana, where we also have Baja Mariba, the communities of Mabule and those other villages. They are also having an existing SLA, which also speaks to them benefiting. And we have also put pressure on the government to say, give the community what belongs to them, because they have signed for that. And we went there and we picked it up that there's no even a follow-up, and that is why we are starting to say the issue of our people benefiting must be prioritized. So if Volmarans was to be the one, he could have also benefited.
Okay. LENKOPANE ra le gafana ka gago e botseng go nna le rena mo internet television. Re MOTSWANA le wena ra go leuga re ke re jwa fela ke nako. I wish we had more time so that we go through all this a little bit more. And that is all from us, more Infinite Television, more Northwest News today. From myself, Nyakalo Masala, it's good night.